All right, your weather guy back with a tropical update. Couple disturbances to watch. We're going to focus mainly on the one that could impact the United States as soon as next week. But there might be some threats behind this one. So things are about to get pretty active once again. But first, if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and help this channel to grow. And that way you can also get some future notifications as well. So let's get right into it. So the National Hurricane Center is now giving a 50% chance of cyclone formation in the Western Caribbean sometime early to mid next week. You can see that's the orange hashed area there. So let's go ahead, we'll pull over to the models and see what we're looking at. So this is the GFS and this is for Wednesday. So again, sometime in the early part to middle part of next week, I'm expecting some type of broad area of low pressure to form in the Western Caribbean. You can see that right here. And then from here, this should move north. Now, where exactly this goes, the track really won't be pinned down, probably for still a little while. But we'll take a look, see what the models are showing at this point. So this is the GFS. Again, this is for Wednesday. And as we go forward into time, we move into now Friday of next week. And we can see that strengthen now. And this is 987 millibars, so this is getting into hurricane strength as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. And so this is early Friday, and then moves pretty quickly, and looks like the GFS has it making landfall on Saturday morning as a 977 millibar hurricane, somewhere maybe along the Mississippi coast over to maybe southeast Louisiana, so impacting some regions that were impacted by Francine recently. So that's the GFS, and then I'll show you, we'll pop over to the Canadian model. So the Canadian model is a little bit further west with it. We'll back it up a little bit. You can see forms it earlier than the GFS. This is now Tuesday, moves it into the Gulf of Mexico, but swings it a little bit further west, and it kind of meanders for a little bit before bringing it north into central Louisiana, again impacting some of the areas that were just hit by Francine recently. Brings it in like late Saturday, early Sunday. So this would be the 28th, 29th. So not this Saturday or Sunday, but the following weekend. So that's the Canadian, and then kind of just stalls it out, probably bringing some heavy rain to much of the deep south, lower Mississippi Valley. And then let's pop over to the European AI, which has done really good job sniffing out some threats recently. So this is now Tuesday. We see our area of low pressure in the Western Caribbean, and then moves it north. And then actually brings it a little bit further east than both the GFS and the Canadian, and brings it into the Florida Panhandle as a hurricane. This would be Friday. And then the European itself actually brings it in a little bit further west of this. So these models are pretty close. I mean, anywhere from central Louisiana over to the Florida Panhandle. At this point, that's pretty close agreement being this far out with this thing not even forming yet. But don't let your guard down. Really, if you're anywhere along the Gulf Coast, I'm going to pop over. Let's pull up the GEFS ensemble, so the GFS ensembles here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So this is now Wednesday. We have our low pressure in the Western Caribbean. So again, the GFS run a bunch of times, and so we're not looking at 25 different storms here. These are just different outputs from each of those runs. So this is now Wednesday, and then we'll move forward, and you can see the spread in the model. So some of them go into Florida, and then right up the East Coast a little bit. Some of them are more central Gulf, and then some of them even bring it into Texas. So really, if you're anywhere, this thing hasn't formed yet, so there's no reason to let your guard down, really, if you're anywhere from Texas over to the Florida coast. And then even up in the southeastern coast, so this thing, if it tracks further east and tracks through Florida, could head up the coast a little bit and impact parts of the Carolinas. So the other thing to point out too is the GFS ensembles are still showing some pretty strong outputs here. So 948 millibars, 937, 948. So this thing still could deepen. Some of the models are showing it maybe interacting with some drier air as it moves north, and that would impact the strength of the system. Saw that a little bit with Francine, kind of limited Francine from getting to a major category strength. But again, this thing is still far out, so the details really, we're still days away really from this thing forming, and then probably a couple days after that before we really know how strong this thing can get. So at this point, it's not time to prepare, but it is time to have a plan in place. And just make sure you stay tuned. So please hit that subscribe button, and we'll be bringing updates as we get more information in over the next couple of days. And then I want to show you this. Let's actually put this forward. So as that threat leaves next weekend or maybe early next week, look at this. Look at all of these low pressure systems behind it. So there might be multiple threats to track. So this is now Friday, October 4th. You can see another threat emerging in the Western Caribbean, maybe something further north in the Bahamas, and then maybe something else trying to track across from Africa. One of those waves could come across and develop as well. So multiple threats to track here. First, let's get through this one, but don't let your guard down. It was relatively quiet in the tropics, but it has picked up over the last couple weeks, and it looks like going forward for the next couple weeks could be pretty active. So, but that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.